Getting talked down to. We saved each other! And they all have like dent heads and have to wear helmets or have like a hamster and its wheel for a brain. And like, what are we talking about? I'm convinced blue pushers are a death cult. I mean, if we're going for ideal outcomes here, which is how I'm thinking about this, the way to get everybody to live that's easier to achieve is if a majority of people press the blue button. Now, given we're talking Twitter polls here, so it's not exactly like representative of what a real world scenario might play out like. Maybe people who say they will use the blue button wouldn't actually do that in real life. Hell, maybe I wouldn't. Maybe in my darkest moment I find out that I'm selfish and only like want to live at the expense of everybody else. But like blue did win most times, but you know, at the end of the day, you can't really predict how anybody across the board would work. It is kind of funny that people are depicting it as like a bell curve thing, where dummies at the lower end of the bell curve would vote blue just cause like they see the question on its face and don't think very hard about it. Guys in the middle who think about it a little bit like would press red to ensure their own survival. Like in this scenario, at least they know they will make it out alive no matter who wins. But then the blue guys at the end have supposedly measured out the probabilities here and would vote blue, but there's a quote tweet on this shit that was so fucking funny. The speech bubble is doing some good subtle work here. Guys on the furthest end of the curve are LARPing about that they would press the blue button, and then the day after, everybody left on the bell curve is a red voter. I do like this scenario taken completely out of like the moral argument around it all, instead just turned into bits for a joke. I ran the red and blue button experiment at home, and my 5-year-old son chose the blue button because that's, quote, his favorite color. What a dumbass. Obviously, my wife and I chose red right after. Maybe you should use your noggin next time, Logan. Thank you, Keegan. Now, there was no shortage of people trying to reframe the question into something that, like, you know, on its face seems to have the same stakes on the whole thing, but they changed the method. It's not just like a button you're pushing and then everything's tallied at the end. They'll take it into like a real-world what if. Like Summoning Salt said, a train is coming down a track. It always loops back to the trolley problem, man. That is the issue with this sort of thing. Everyone on Earth has the choice to either tie themselves to the track or not. If more than 50% of people chose to tie themselves to the track, the train turns around and doesn't run them over. Yes or no, do you tie yourself to the track? And like, it's not fundamentally different, but the context you're asking people to make this decision in is like a lot different. Like, the decision to not tie yourself to train tracks is different than like a button press. Like, the level of commitment you're asking for makes you think about the problem differently. There's a mostly funny diagram I saw about this shit. It's happening again, where the red voter says, dude, get out of the crusher, and then the blue people under the crusher say, y'all just want to kill us. But unfortunately for you, I have discovered a stick figure interpretation that supports my view of the issue. Red voters try so desperately to act like A, pushing red is the default and pushing blue is a needless choice, and B, that pushing red has no correlation at all to the possible death of blues. Like, when we're going back to the train track scenario, I feel like the default state is that you are not tied to the train tracks. Like, you're choosing to actively change the state that you're in, whereas the red versus blue thing is you have to make a private decision between two options that you have not been presented with like before the scenario is right in front of you. Like, you are not tied to train tracks right now. If you were actively making a choice to tie yourself to train tracks because the scenario concocted has abstracted the red versus blue button so far away from like the actual thing you're putting in front of you. From Noroka Nyovel, this is like my view of the situation. I appreciate them giving me an opinion to claim as my own. The red versus blue thing is more of like a scale. Dude, the spikes are gonna kill us. Hop on this side. Lol, there's no spikes on this side. Why would I get on the side with spikes? You know, that's actually pretty close to the train one, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think my logic's falling apart here, man. Holy fuck, what would I do if I was told that I had to tie myself to train tracks to save everybody? Oh god! The truth is, I would hope that everybody presses red. That way, at least a large chunk of humans would die, because I intend to do that myself anyways. Big killer robot and all that. This was a little more of a fun thought experiment than, like, something super serious that I think some certain individuals might be taking it. Like, the logic of picking red does, on some level, make sense to me. You just might, like, side-eye them if blue ends up winning and you find out, like, a homie of yours pressed red. It's all made up, though, so I wouldn't stress too hard about it. That's all I got. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at with a Y. That email's in the description if you guys want to send me any video topics. Anyways, piss off. Hey fellas, and welcome back to With a Y. I was scrolling Twitter about a week ago, Bobby Schmurder, I know, big mistake, and I saw this one tweet that made me laugh.